Aloha, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of the Daily Dose with the Minority Cannabis Business Association. I'm your host, Kaliko Castillo, the president here at Minority Cannabis Business Association. We also got our comms manager, Precious, on the line again. Hey, Precious.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Thank you for joining us for episode 3. And I know we're about to get right into it. This one is an interesting one. So go ahead, Kaliko.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm actually still kind of buzzing from yesterday's headlines and what we covered yesterday with President Biden's announcement around pardons. And there's a lot of stuff that's happening since that was the news yesterday. But yesterday, we actually wanted to talk about the story we're going to talk about today with some really big news out of Illinois. This headline's out of Marijuana Business Daily, mjbizdaily.com. First licensed social equity craft marijuana grower open for business in Illinois. I'm going to read straight from the headlines, then we'll go ahead and get into it. Starbuds, Illinois became the first social equity craft marijuana grower to begin operations in Illinois. The Rockford, Illinois company, which is 66% Black owned on Monday, also became the first licensed, predominantly Black owned cannabis business in the state, the Chicago Tribune reported. The opening came after Starbuds, Illinois was issued an operational permit by the State Department of Agriculture. And this is from the State Department of Agriculture's news release. This is the first of 342 cannabis licensees issued by the department in the last year to open their doors, and there are dozens more who will be joining them soon. Of the 48 craft grow licenses issued by the Agriculture Department in July of 2022 this year, 42% are majority Black owned, 36% are majority white owned, 8% are majority Hispanic owned, and 8% are owned by a partnership group. All the new licensees were issued to social equity applicants. Social equity applicants are defined as individuals who live in so-called disproportionately impacted areas that encompasses areas with high rates of poverty, joblessness, and marijuana-related arrests and convictions. So this is really big news, and it's really awesome to see that the very first licensed operational business is happening from a social equity license and a Black-owned business, and ultimately looking at sort of all of the different categories that are covered in this new round of licenses that went out in July. Good to see that it is truly diverse and truly is trying to help repair and help those who are most damaged by marijuana prohibition. What are your thoughts on this news, Precious?
Yeah, it actually is kind of like a bittersweet moment for me. While, I'm super happy that this is finally coming to fruition, I just think it took way too long. Illinois back in 2019, even before that, 2018 was supposed to be like the standard of where we've learned from California a little bit. We're learning from how the industry is growing to really create strong social equity programs. And I think the anticipation was that they would get it right out of the gate, where for years now, it's only been the multi-state operators who have been crossing the $1 billion in sales. And this is now the first Black operation to join the grow fold. And it just speaks to really the progress for sure. But I really want people to also remember that, there were a lot of advocacy work on the ground that made this happen too. Illinois had to go through several licensing and lottery rounds for this to happen because, again, in the beginning, there were no Black or brown operations even in the room when you were thinking about social equity yet. It was being touted as the next best thing when it comes to really supporting minority entrepreneurs. So I'm super excited to see the trajectory now that, we've hit this landmark. But again, I personally think this should have happened a long time ago. I know many people in Illinois who have been raising money, hemorrhaging capital, literally putting their life's savings, their life's work into the Illinois process, only to have been let down time and time again. So I'm hoping this is like a beacon, like a smile, like a new light for them, because that is essentially what we wanted to see when the market first launched. And there's still a lot more work to do with Illinois, but I'm hoping that this is, where we go forward in the future.
Absolutely. And I think like most things we'll probably talk and discuss about here on the Daily Dose, there's always the headline, which we typically want to celebrate. And then there's always the finer details, right? And the stuff that we still have work to do. So I think, to your point, it's really awesome that, the very first sort of craft growers who are in operation are social equity applicants that are coming from the Black community. But on the other side of that, it took years to get here. There was a lot of litigation that had to happen in order for us to be able to actually get this market operational in Illinois. So it's a really big win, while at the same time it shows that we've got a lot more work to do, especially as we look at new new states and new markets, and how we can be learning from, places like Illinois and others, so that we're not you know rerunning those same patterns, and ultimately putting people behind, and like you said, hemorrhaging capital. If you've got to hold on to a building or to assets for years on at a time to try to see if you're gonna get a license, there's definitely a lot of pitfalls there financially. Also, one of the other sort of finer details here, it's really interesting because when I saw the headline saw the name of who it was, Starbuds, it was a kind of popped in my head as I've heard that name before. So it was interesting to hear that this was like a new company, but it was something that was actually started in Colorado, is in a couple of other states, but now under this sort of new ownership structure in Illinois, specifically, it is predominantly Black owned. So it is interesting also to see this opportunity for folks to be able to partner with people who have been in the industry for a while, who are established brands themselves. But because of the way the patchwork has actually worked with state by state, there's the opportunity to have, a majority ownership of that state license, even though it may not be majority ownership of the entire company. So I feel like that's a really interesting aspect of this as well.
Yeah, no, I always say partnerships are going to be the vehicle that supports new markets and even the mid mature markets, because there is a lot to learn from experience. Like, experience is our great teacher, no matter what the case is. So I'm always down for that. But I think states, municipalities even have to really take a final look at those partnerships too. I know that's something that's happening in New Jersey, where almost now it's kind of too strict. There's like a chokehold on the partnerships where they want to know everything, who owns what, where, when, why, and how, to prevent them from being predatory. So I'm hoping those are the same partnerships that we're seeing, the non-predatory partnerships, but the ones that are actually going to make sure that minority operators are sustainable. They're able to pass these businesses on. They're able to scale these businesses, because I always preach, outside of licensing, social equity really focuses on sustainability. That's just the first hump of the cannabis industry, is getting through licensing as a Black, brown, small business, woman-owned business, veteran-owned business, whatever category. After that is really sustainability. How are you going to manage that license? How are you going to scale your operation? How are you going to grow your business? And then the social equity policies that your state has, how does it support your business that you want to scale? I mean, something else that I see coming out of Illinois was about the canopy size for some of these grow licenses, which were being capped at $5,000 square feet, where, rightfully so, a lot of those operators were saying, well, how would that really be financially viable to compete with some of the larger scale operations, rather than to put in something more valuable like 14,000 square feet. Now, I'm not sure if that bill actually passed or whether it's still in limbo, but I know there's a lot of pushback there from the larger organizations there, claiming the finer details in that bill, just to make sure that, okay, you grant Black and brown businesses 14,000 square feet to grow, but we don't necessarily like that, because what if they sell to another company or competitor? What if they sell to another business because they don't want to do it? Now I have to worry about that competition. I truly think those what ifs are also a big barrier to pushing social equity forward, because you're literally trying to predict the future before even giving these Black and brown operations a chance to grow. So, like I said, I really want to celebrate Illinois. Please do not blame me for being pessimistic here, but it really has to, they really have to be held accountable when we have these discussions about why it took them this long to really launch that first Black-owned craft grow, and really how can they move forward. So those finer details, when we talk about social equity, I think we should also start to think that social equity isn't a reference to a Black or brown owned business. Social equity is a reference to policies. We're not identified as social equity businesses. We're looking to social equity policies to support our businesses. And I don't think that was the mindset for Illinois in the beginning, but hopefully that's the mindset now moving forward.
It's definitely a great point. It's really important to separate out that social equity doesn't just mean Black or brown. It's like actually trying to reach a level of parity because of a disparity in policy. And ultimately what we're trying to do is have a level playing field for those who have been disproportionately impacted. And there are plenty of Black and brown folks who maybe didn't get caught up in the system and are able to become entrepreneurs and do still kind of have, they're on the upside of that disparity, right? So like there is not all Black and brown folks are the same, right? I know it's hard for some folks to hear, but it is not a one size fits all for everyone. And social equity is very much about a policy and trying to right a wrong. And then in general, what we're trying to do is make it easier for Black and brown and Indigenous folks to get involved in the industry. So this is the end of the week. I know this is the last daily dose for the week, but Precious, I don't know if there's anything else that we want to cover on this topic or anything else you want to leave folks with before we head into the weekend.
No, this was definitely a dope topic to cover. Feel free to still comment in the comments when we're off, just to get your feedback. We'll be able to jump back in there and respond to any other lingering thoughts. But no, continue to follow us on our MCBA platforms. We have a lot of programming coming up here in October, including our member meeting happening. So if you're a member, please check your email. We also have our compliance day training for those in the retail space. If you want to get free compliance training on all things payment processing, e-commerce, insurance, partnering with Dutchie, that's on Thursday, October 13th. So you don't want to miss that. The information is on our social media pages, so you can check there. We also have our networking event for everyone, whether you're an MCBA member, a supporter, interested in the cannabis industry, been in the cannabis industry for years. We just really want to pull people together and have a good afternoon of some good conversations, good networking. That is on October 27th. So definitely, again, check our social media pages for that. And then MJ BizCon is coming up, and you know what that means. You know what time it is. It is the center of where the cannabis industry meets. So why not connect with like-minded folks? We're having our kickoff mixer November 15th for MJ BizCon. So the RSVPs are out, spaces are limited. So if you want to hang with the cool kids, definitely get that RSVP in so that you can connect with us before the MJ BizCon madness takes over the rest of the week. And we'll be so excited to see many of you there. But all that and more, be sure to check our socials and follow us. And yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, straight up. I mean, there's so much stuff going on here in October, and appreciate all the work that Precious and our operations manager, Samantha, is doing behind the scenes to make this all possible for our members. Like Precious said, be signing up for the networking event, for our monthly member meeting, for the Dutchie webinar we got coming up, for the MJ BizCon party. We got so many things we're going to be rolling out here in the fall, and it's all part of becoming a member at MCBA. If you go to minoritycannabis.org, you can sign up, and then also sign up for our newsletter, which Precious curates on a week-to-week basis. Just sent one out today, which covers all of these things we were talking about with registration links and more information. So please make sure you go to minoritycannabis.org and at least sign up for the newsletter. But we'd love to have you on board as a member so we can continue doing the work and making sure that Black and brown folks have a seat at the table and ultimately are at the center of the discussion when we're talking about what does legalization and the future of the cannabis industry look like. So big ups, Precious. Appreciate your help, and looking forward to chatting some more next week. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back on Tuesday because Monday is a holiday for Indigenous Peoples Day. We won't actually be doing a live stream, but we'll see you all back here on Tuesday. Thanks.